All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Lots of talk as we come back from the Memorial Day weekend about New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo now saying the COVID-19 models were wrong, that he is getting out of the COVID-19 projection forecasting business. And those models were used to shut down the economy, which put tens of millions out of work, caused small businesses to collapse, and put companies like Hertz, JCPenney, Neiman Marcus now in bankruptcy proceedings. News coming in, Amtrak is about to lay off 1/5 of its workforce. Now watch the New York governor on this.
The question is, at what point do the numbers drop to the reopening threshold? Now, people can speculate, people can guess. I think next week, I think 2 weeks, I think a month. I'm out of that business because we all failed at that business, right? All the early national experts, here's my projection model, here's my projection model. They were all wrong. They were all wrong.
Okay, let's welcome back in a Fox Business exclusive Trump 2020 campaign senior advisor, Lara Trump. Great to have you back on, Lara. Your reaction to the Governor Cuomo saying the models are wrong?
Well, he's right about that. I think we can all agree the models were wrong. You remember the hysteria, by the way, at the very beginning of this thing, saying that the president needed to produce for this country like 1 million ventilators. Well, there was not a single person, Liz, in this entire country that needed a ventilator that didn't have one, thanks to this president. The Trump administration and the coronavirus task force really went above and beyond to make sure that they did everything possible to look out for Americans and make sure that they were on top of these things. But I think a lot of people probably do feel that way. I think we all feel like we've done what was asked of us. The curve has flattened. The projections were not, thank God, accurate when it came to just how bad this might get. So I would say probably a lot of people agree with that sentiment.
You know, JP Morgan Chase, Lara, is saying that, the cases are going down in states that reopen. We're seeing, let's give you the trend line, 21 states are seeing cases going down. 14 states are seeing flattening of cases and the growth there. 15 states are seeing increases. Lara, just weeks ago, the attacks were on basically the media. The media was attacking the states that were reopening, and they were attacking the Trump administration. The Atlantic magazine was saying Georgia's experiment in human sacrifice, killing their residents to appease the Trump death cult. That's a direct quote. Washington Post, Jennifer Rubin, saying reopening will cause Floridians to die. This is on Governor DeSantis and the Trump death cult. And Paul Krugman of the New York Times saying, how many will die for the Dow? Your reaction? Some are saying, you could call this reverting to hype. What is your reaction to these headlines?
Well, look, the president was very clear in the very beginning of this whole pandemic that the cure cannot be worse than the disease itself. And I think I give a lot of credit to these governors for reopening their states in the way they have. We have to get back to normal at some point, Liz. People are desperate to get back to work. People need their kids back in school so they can go back to work and get back to normal life. I think every parent that's been dealing with Zoom classes online with their kids can appreciate how much we want to make sure our kids are back in school come September. But I give a lot of credit to Ron DeSantis of
But can
Florida.
you do it by mitigating? But you can, yeah. Can you reopen schools with mitigating risk, though?
I mean, I think you can. Look, at some point, we have to weigh the cost of keeping things closed. And the reality is, I understand, and I think all Americans understand, that we needed to shut down for a certain period of time. But if you stay shut down forever, it doesn't work. Businesses all across this country will close forever. We will go bankrupt ultimately as a country. It does not work. And you have to think about the health on the other side of the coin. People not getting diagnosed for, life-threatening diseases like cancer out there. Think about the mental health toll that this is taking on people. People who rely on like Alcoholics Anonymous groups and things like that are not able to get the help and treatment they need. So at a certain point, you do have to open things back up. And again, I give a lot of credit to the governors that said, let's try it. Let's take it slowly, see how it's gone. And by the way, you see how well it has gone. You look at Florida, where around 3 per 100,000 people in Florida has come down with the coronavirus versus 27.5 per 100,000 in the state of New York. So Ron DeSantis has done something right there.
New York has 14 times more the fatalities than Florida has. but, Florida didn't follow the guidelines from the CDC about taking, COVID patients back into nursing homes. New York governor, again, trying to blame the Trump administration for that guidance to put COVID-19 patients back into nursing homes, killing nearly 6,000 people. I mean, Florida has 1.2 million more senior citizens than New York. So, he's blaming CDC guidelines and the Trump administration on that. Your take on that?
Well, I mean, I think that's an easy way out. You look at the fact that Ron DeSantis really prepared the nursing homes down in Florida and made sure that they had very thorough instructions on how to disinfect things and how to deal with getting people back into nursing homes post coronavirus. They did a really great job down there. It's easy to point fingers in a situation like this, but I think we all have to give credit ultimately to the president for doing the right thing from day one. You have to remember, Liz, when this president shut down travel from China to the United States was the same day that Nancy Pelosi was handing out her impeachment pens and the Democrats were trying to impeach this president. Thank God we had Donald Trump in the White House who actually was looking out for the health and safety of Americans instead of trying to politicize this whole thing.
Okay, getting the economy back up and running. Citigroup is now warning 44 million could be at risk of losing their jobs. 31 million of them would be women. That's what Citigroup is now warning. Joe Biden is now trying to attack the president on the handling of the pandemic and the damage to the economy. Dr. Fauci warns about permanent damage to the economy, saying lockdown. Your take on Joe Biden now planning to attack the president for his handling of the COVID pandemic?
Well, it's probably easy to say that when you've been locked up in your basement. And all we have to do is look back to, again, January, when the president, like I said, stopped travel coming here from China to save, I mean, countless lives. Who knows how many tens or hundreds of thousands of lives ultimately this president saved by making that call. Joe Biden called it xenophobic and fear-mongering. He also, during the Obama-Biden administration, the handling of H1N1 just goes to show I don't think you want Joe Biden running the country in a situation like this. H1N1 came to the United States in April of 2009, and it was not declared a national emergency until over 1 million people had it in October of that year. So it's very easy, I'm sure, for Joe Biden to say, oh, I would have done a better job. How much more of a better job, I would like to ask Joe Biden, do you think Donald Trump could have done? This president and his administration, I think you have to give full credit for their handling of this entire situation. Again, no one in this country that needed a ventilator went without one. There were no hospitals overflowing. And I mean, ultimately, people have followed the guidelines. We've all been happy to do it.
Yeah, the CDC, by the way, under Obama, did declare it a public health emergency before October. But I hear what you're saying about it being a national emergency. I want to talk to you about what else is going on in the states, because, Lara, the blue states are really getting hit hard. 40% of leisure, hospitality, construction jobs wiped out in blue states. Again, you cite Florida. Florida is seeing a fraction of those jobs losses. The governors decided to exempt certain workers and move ahead and move forward to keep the economy open there. I want your take on the Democrat governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, now in hot water. The owner of a northern Michigan dock company said her husband tried to use his status as the governor's husband to cut in front of the line of everyone else to get the governor's family boat back in the water before Memorial Day in a region that she shut down. She's now saying this was all a joke, was meant to be funny. Do you see this as funny? I mean, the governor again is saying this was meant to be a joke. Your reaction to this controversy?
I think she should ask the people of her state that. Do the people of Michigan think it's been a joke when they've been losing jobs left and right, when they've been desperate to get back to work, when these people have been begging to get their rights back that she has taken away? You can get an abortion in the state, but you can't go buy paint. Like, the whole thing is so crazy what she has done there. So I think I would ask the people of Michigan, do you find that funny? I don't think it's very funny at all. I think instead of trying to run for vice president running mate for Joe Biden, maybe she should have been thinking more about the people of her state.
Lara Trump, come back soon. Great to have you on.